locker room? If so, come on down to the Evangelical Church, where we will help you. We're here to help you take those attractions away. We just want to help save you from eternal damnation and hellfire with Toby. We understand how hard it must be thinking that you're attracted to somebody on your team. Come down to the Evangelical Church. Eternal damnation. We're just one conversion therapy away from freedom. We understand how hard it must be. Thinking for far too long. Somebody.
Oh shit.
We've allowed.
Okay, so I'm up and running. So let me give you the link. Here's the link to the stream that's up right now. Please come on over, and yeah, let's go. See you in a minute. Okay, let's see. I'll just...
The vicious heteros to indoctrinate our children and endanger the safety of our loved ones. We've allowed this to go on at a pace that is accelerating. It's time that we ban Beauty and the Beast, because that is a man and a woman trying to set the stage that all relationships must be like this. It's time. It's time we stand up against this princess and this prince fantasy. It's time to end. We must ban all these Disney movies like Lion King, where it was a male and a female. We must ban Nemo because it was a mother and a father. This endless hetero indoctrination must come to an end.
Okay, so good times. That was fun. So, where we left off was talking about the left's responsibility. What up, Tail Gunner? Mayor, Ms. Mozzie. What does it say? I'm out pollution. Okay, so what we have here is, without understanding the full scope of the the dereliction of the DOJ, the impetus of the Democrats, and how the January 6th committee fucked up. Now, the first January 6th committee hearing, I think, was like April of 2022. And again, this video was February of 2022, February 3rd of 2022. And the problem we have is this is still true. Like, everything I said in here 2 years ago is probably worse now. Oh, it's Mulder. Nice. It's probably worse now than it was then. So these were my thoughts.
How's it going, everybody?
That's
Wanted to have a quick chat about why there's no accountability yet. I'm starting to get weary, starting to think that maybe there's not actually going to be accountability. There's some weird things going on that aren't making any sense to me. And I'm going to go over those with you in just a second. But before I do, if you like what we do here, please subscribe to our channel. Drop a like down below. Hit that bell with your subscription so you get all the updates. And share this out so we can get a message out. Okay, so here's what I'm not understanding. Hit the like button. Let me start with the state AGs and the fake electors.
Okay, so I just want to reiterate so everybody understands. I'm starting off explaining Russia by explaining the left and Biden's DOJ. So this isn't partisan hackery. This is actual analysis.
Out so we can get a message out. Okay, so here's what I'm not understanding. Let me start with the state AGs and the fake electors. We knew that they were doing this plan while they were doing this plan. Stephen Miller was on TV talking about it. It was already being reported on that they were trying this plan before it actually happened. So there's got to be a reason why it's taken this long for the state attorney generals to actually address this. Now, a lot of what's going on just doesn't make any sense. And here's how they put it. The state AG in Michigan said something along the lines of, we are aware that crimes have been committed, that they've committed fraud, probably a conspiracy, and maybe other crimes. We know they've committed crimes. However, we also know other people have committed crimes and they probably conspired with other people. So we've handed this off to the DOJ and we're not going to prosecute these crimes in our state that we know about from these Republicans. Then she goes on to say that even if DOJ does prosecute, they can still decide to prosecute if they want. So that sounds like dereliction of duty. You know crimes have been committed. You've referred it for further prosecution or for further investigation to the Department of Justice because you think it's part of a bigger conspiracy. But you know for certain these people committed crimes in your state and a criminal conspiracy.
Spit.
And you're choosing or refusing to prosecute them. You're not even serving search warrants to identify information and gather communications. What are you doing? That's dereliction of duty. You have admitted on live television that you are aware of a criminal conspiracy and you are doing nothing about it by choice. That's unacceptable in a democracy when that crime is trying to overthrow democracy. The same thing has happened in multiple states, not just Michigan. They've abused tax dollars. They've raised money on known lies, which is fraud. That's another crime they're not going after. We know all of these people were all in communication with the White House. Navarro's admitted the Green Bay sweep. Epstein, they've all admitted it. So where are the search warrants from the FBI? You're just waiting for the committee to do it? Now, let's talk about this committee that I had so much faith in. Do you realize every piece of information that we get about this coup is now officially being leaked by the committee to the press? This isn't journalists doing hard work. Maybe some of it is. The majority of the information we're getting about this coup and about the crimes are coming from the January 6th committee. Now, why would you leak that stuff if you're going to have hearings? Well, now all of a sudden they're not going to have hearings. Maybe in May, maybe in June, 5 months from the election, after primaries have started already. So they're leaking information. Now, to me, what does leaks do? Well, it keeps the press cycle going, but it desensitizes everybody to everything that they would be revealing in these hearings. So by the time we listen to the hearings, we're going to already know it, because why are we going to care about Bernie Epstein testifying when Bernie Epstein went on the beat and said it? Same with Navarro. This is ridiculous. Why are they trying to desensitize us from a coup? Why not have 2 weeks of hearings on the levels that you have and put pressure on Meadows and all these people to flip on each other, to put pressure on Pence to come in? Why not have 2 weeks of hearings? You have plenty to have hearings on, to blow the press cycle up for a week or two. Then have 2 more weeks, have a week. But you're intentionally doing nothing but searching and searching and searching. You don't need crimes number 875, 876, and 877 when you already have the other ones. You can't prosecute them anyway. So everything the January 6th committee does just gets referred over to the DOJ, who then has to investigate it also. They don't just take the January 6th notes and call it quits. So DOJ has to do their own work after January 6th does their work, I guess. Because the Department of Justice and Merrick Garland doesn't actually care about a coup.
Did not appoint Jack Smith for 8 more months after this video.
They don't need to arrest him. But where's the search warrants for Bannon, for Flynn, for Trump down in Mar-a-Lago? Well, if the National Archives alerted Doug Ducey back in 2020 about the fake electors, why are we just hearing about it now? Is Doug Ducey guilty of covering up a crime? Or are we just not going to do anything and just let this go like every other elected set of leaders that tried to fuck with America? It's just going to be best for America if we just let them go.
Baked Alaska is part of the whole blood sports lore. There's a lot to that.
Well, this time it's the death of America, not for the best of America. This makes no sense. And if anybody knows how we can start putting pressure on the DOJ, start putting pressure on these state AGs, and start putting pressure on this January 6th committee to stop leaking documents and have some damn hearings. Enough is enough already. Sorry. I just don't understand. Enough is enough. So, if there's anything you can do to share this out, if you have any comments, any ideas of what we could do, please leave them down below. Hope you guys are staying safe. I know there's a lot of weather out there.
So there's also, I don't know how I can give this report. Maybe I can just copy the name of it. Because it's a PDF. Not the Twitch poll type PDF. Different type of PDF. So I have two resources I'll give you. If you want to really dig in and have a better understanding of how complicit the Department of Justice actually is. There is this report, right? This report, sorry, I'm putting links in the Discord. I'll put them in chat too. This one you'll see in just a minute. And wait, did I just put it in twice? Yeah, I did. Never mind. So I put the name of this one in there. But I didn't put the link because it's just a PDF. So you can search the name. It's Subverting Justice: How the Former President and His Allies Pressured DOJ to Overturn the 2020 Election. Now, this isn't like some outside bullshit. This was Dick Durbin and the Senate Judiciary. So this report has a very detailed explanation of the timeline and what happened. You can go and there's a chronological timeline. There's also, if you get real curious, there is all the evidence, all the actual fucking evidence, right? And this came out, I don't know the date. I don't know. What's the date of this? I don't know. I don't know when they when this report was. But it was like 2021, I believe. So it explains the whole thing and who was participating. Oh, there's one more that you can go to. Oops. Here. Oh. There's a case called by the name of Eric Coomer. And if you read the Giuliani deposition, you go down to it's page I think it's page 12. Wait. Okay, here we go. It's actually page 7, which is page 20. So I thought of them as divided. This is Rudy Giuliani's under oath testimony. So I thought of them as divided somewhat into two groups that worked together, but were still two separate groups that did different things as well. The crew that you mentioned that was counsel to the president, who was on that team? Why don't we say counsel to the president personally? On that team, myself, Jenna Ellis, Sidney Powell, Joe DeGeneva, Victoria Tenzing. I'm not sure if Christina Bobb, OAN reporter, was there yet. And I'm missing, Boris Epstein. Also, you get into Phil Waldron and John Eastman. Down here's Eastman. Phil, he explains the whole story. The whole coup plot. It's right here. I mean, why bother? What? This was September 2021. No. Oh, wait. Yeah. Looks like September 2021. This is remarkable. Transcript 8/14/21. So this one right here, this will follow the protest planners and the Nazis. This one will take you all the way through from months in advance, all the way through to the attack. You can see the propaganda campaign on the ground. You can read about it in the depositions. You can read about it in the Giuliani report. I have everything on the YouTube to explain everything you could ever want to know about the 2020 coup. But the problem is, not only do people not understand what happened in 2020, and they don't pay attention to the stolen nuclear secrets, they don't understand how it all fits into something bigger. And that's what I want us to take a look at today. So Bill Barr, if you remember, was appointed. Come on now. Bill Barr was appointed as Attorney General. And what he had done was basically write a letter, like a briefing, like an amicus brief that we heard about earlier, where it's like a friend of the court is going to give advice. Bill Barr, out of the blue, decided, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say this whole thing is hogwash and it shouldn't be happening at all. And lo and behold, former Attorney General Bill Barr, who helped cover up the fucking Iraq war, or Iran, wait. Was it Iran-Contra or the Iraq war? I can't remember. But he helped cover up for another president in the past. And he decided, I'm going to write a thing. Because I've already decided, without knowing anything, that Trump did nothing wrong and this is all bullshit. I already know that. But what you don't know is how many court cases and how many investigations he interfered with. He interfered with Flynn. He interfered with Michael Cohen. He interfered with a lot of stuff. There were a lot of criminal referrals turned over that got thrown in the trash. Bill Barr accused of derailing huge DOJ investigation after Trump appointment. Report. When was this? This report, March 9th, 2024. Department of Justice employees are raising questions about a massive investigation into tax avoidance by heavy equipment manufacturer Caterpillar that fell apart after Donald Trump appointed Bill Barr to be his attorney general. According to a report from the New York Times, the DOJ was working hand in hand with the IRS on an extensive criminal investigation of the company, only to be blocked from interviewing a key witness that helped cause the case to fizzle. As a result, the Times is reporting the interview was never rescheduled and the investigation would limp along for another few years before culminating in late 2022 with a victory for Caterpillar. The Internal Revenue Service told the giant industrial company to pay less than a quarter of the back taxes the government once claimed the Caterpillar owed and did not impose any penalties. Now questions are being raised about the timing of the interference that reared its head after Barr was selected by former president. According to the report, lawyers for Caterpillar met with senior federal officials, including the Justice Department top tax official Richard Zuckerman, to complain about the inquiries being made by investigators following the appointment of Barr. Zuckerman ordered agents to back off. The Times is reporting that set off alarms within the DOJ. Last year, Jason LeBeau wrote to the department's inspector general, "It appears the Caterpillar was given special political treatment that the average U.S. citizen cannot obtain." So, without going into like all the boring details, what's up, Aiken? Without going into all the boring details, here's just an example of how corrupt the Department of Justice was. Now, we're going to get into more, but this is how corrupt the Department of Justice was. So you got Merrick Garland, who was what? Attorney General or something. What was he? Lead director of the FBI or some shit? I can't remember. When the Murrah building, the Oklahoma City bombing. So he saw that. He saw the dangers of white nationalists, white supremacists, all that bullshit. And he not only saw that, but if you go through the report with all the evidence, what you're going to see is a bombardment. Whoa, what was that? A bombardment of requests, whether it be from Doug Mastriano of Pennsylvania running for governor, whether it was Mark Meadows, Rudy Giuliani, it didn't matter. All of these people were directly contacting the Department of Justice, requesting investigations, trying to overthrow the election. And Jeffrey Rosen and Donahue knew, and they didn't participate, but they kept their fucking mouths shut. And as the Attorney General and the Deputy Attorney General, it is your job to stop crime, to stop insurrections, to stop a coup, not just not participate. So from 20 whatever, when Barr got appointed, to today, the Department of Justice has been covering up at least for this, for all of the interference that the Department of Justice did. Because to me, Merrick Garland had to make a choice. What up, little Donnie? Merrick Garland had to make a choice. You make noise and say you're going to do a real job, but only arrest the people that did the attack. Because if you do go after other people, you're going to have to go after all the Republican politicians, other people in the Department of Justice, Kash Patel, Christopher Miller, potentially Charles Flynn. You're going to have to go after the Republican Attorney General's Association. You're going to have to go after the entire Republican Party and the Department of Justice. And he pussied out. He pussied out. And so did Joe Biden, refusing to refer to them as traitors or like anywhere of the severity of what they did. and the Democrats, they participated by being a bunch of chicken shit pussies not able to message anything. But here you see the corruption of Bill Barr. And this is just one potential example. Like, there's dozens and dozens.
I'm having a good day too. It was called.
Now, I did not watch this yet. Okay? I've not seen this. This is a thing from Vice. It says everything you need to know about the Mueller report. I was grabbing a video I wanted, and this happened to come up. So let's see what this one says.
No collusion, no obstruction.
There is no evidence of the Trump campaign collusion with the Russian government's hacking.
I'm going to prove that wrong.
Special.
Nope, stop. Today is a legendary day for spin. Everyone with a stake in the Russia investigation is out there trying to shape how you process what's in the Mueller report. But we're going to do something different. We're going to try to ignore the spin and the bluster and forget about all the preconceptions that brought us to today. Instead, now that this massively significant document is actually in our hands, we're going to look at what it says. Warning, get comfortable. For starters, the report confirms something incredibly important and troubling. The thing we always forget to talk about, which is just how insidious and well-organized the Russians were in screwing with the 2016 election. The Mueller report makes it clear that this effort was designed to benefit Donald Trump and harm Hillary Clinton through Russian social media campaigns and a hacking campaign that stole documents. The report then examines the first of two foundational questions. Did the Trump campaign help that Russian effort? Now, everyone's been talking about this as collusion, but since collusion isn't a crime, legally speaking, it's better to think about this as possible conspiracy. Going into today, we knew the names of a lot of players in the Trump campaign orbit. Some big fish, some really small fish, who appear to have had all kinds of weird contacts with the Russians. There's George Papadopoulos and his meetings with a mysterious foreign professor. There's Carter Page, who's out there trying to broker a meeting between Trump and Putin in Moscow. There's Paul Manafort, who gives internal polling data to a Russian contact. And you've got Roger Stone and Jerome Corsi making suspiciously accurate predictions about when WikiLeaks would be dumping what. Then, of course, there's that Trump Tower meeting, where Russians were supposed to give Donald Trump Jr. damaging information about Clinton that was...
Now, what part of this is bullshit? Which part of this is fake?
advertised as being part of the Russian government's effort to help his dad. The question was, could all of this stuff have been happening on its own without an orchestrated effort by the Trump campaign to coordinate with Russians? Could there be this much smoke without actual fire? What Mueller says is, yeah. There was lots of dubious behavior by people affiliated with Trump, but it didn't
What? That's not what he said.
add up to conspiring with the Russian government. Even the Trump...
No, he said he couldn't, because of obstruction and lies, he wouldn't be able to put a criminal case for criminal conspiracy. He did not say there was no conspiracy.
Tower meeting, which seemed to Mueller watchers to be the closest thing there was to a smoking gun, turned out to have been what the Trump team said it was. Once they finally came clean about it,
What is she
a bust.
talking about?
Mueller does say that the Trump campaign knew about the Russian efforts to release stolen documents, and that they were happy about it. And many of the small-time guys in Trump's orbit did want to connect with Russia for this or that. And there's some sketchiness here with missing or redacted evidence, deleted or encrypted texts, and uncooperative witnesses. All that said, a top-down conspiracy just didn't happen. But
That's not what. It's not.
the fact that his campaign wasn't in cahoots with the Kremlin wasn't enough to protect Trump from his own worst impulses. Even the suggestion that Russia helped Trump win was...
And let's also keep in mind the investigations into Donald Trump. There were two simultaneous investigations. There was the Mueller report, the Mueller investigation, which you had Rod Rosenstein, who was appointed by Donald Trump, he appointed Robert Mueller a lifelong Republican. So it was Trump's Republican appointed Republican that did the investigation. Then there was a Senate investigation. During that time, the Republicans controlled the House and the Senate. So the report put out by the Republican-led Senate confirms the Mueller report.
It was enough to set the new president on a mission to stop law enforcement from asking questions about it. But does that mean he obstructed
Well, it's not even just banned in stone, but it is also banned in stone.
justice? Well, that's the second major question in the report, and Mueller pointedly declined to reach a conclusion. Now, there's been a lot of speculation about whether he held off on making that judgment because of a famous opinion by the Office of Legal Counsel that says a president can't actually be charged with a crime. In other words, why accuse the...
Okay, so that's the important part.
Special counsel.
Now, why aren't all these stopped? It's weird. Okay, so somehow saying there was no like collusion, no coordination, no conspiracy is absolute fucking hogwash. I mean, it's absolute nonsense. Now, one example is written up in the Mueller report, and you heard mention of the Russian hack. Trump said Putin didn't interfere. Trump said it was not Russians that hacked the server. Republicans said it wasn't Russians. And then Seth Rich got murdered. A Clinton staffer. And written in the Mueller report is the coordination between Roger Stone and Julian Assange.
They are grieving. Seth Rich is a 27-year-old data analyst at the DNC, or was, shot and killed early one Sunday morning last month in what police are saying was a robbery gone wrong. He was killed while walking home in a Washington, D.C. neighborhood that has seen a recent uptick in crime. Now, that's what the police say, and they are currently still looking for information as to exactly what happened, since he died, even though he was alive when he was originally found, and we don't know at this point who the killer was. And some people, I think, legitimately have questions about exactly what happened because it is described as a robbery gone wrong, and yet his wallet and his phone were still on his body when he was found. And so some people do have some questions. Some people go just a little bit farther, and one of those is Julian Assange. You might be familiar from his work, obviously, with WikiLeaks, and he was interviewed recently and about the election and what his organization might do in it, and the killing of Seth Rich actually came up.
In the American political lexicon, there's such a thing as the October surprise. The stuff that you're sitting on, is an October surprise in there? Do you even know what you're sitting on?
WikiLeaks never sits on material. Whistleblowers go to significant efforts to get us material, and often very significant risks. As a 27-year-old works for the DNC, who was shot in the back, murdered just 2 weeks ago for unknown reasons as he was walking down the street in Washington. So
that was just a robbery, I believe, wasn't it?
no, there's no finding. So
What are you suggesting? What are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that our sources take risks, and they become concerned.
Hey, what's up, tacos? Get the Aiken, get the Audible, get the audio book.
To see things occurring like that.
But was he one of your sources then? I mean,
we don't comment on who our sources are.
Like, so this is what they do. This is the plausible deniability. He's one of we don't talk about our sources. He also might be one of our sources. This is the process. This is what they do. Right? Like, understand that. And so the whole Seth Rich thing wasn't just Assange, wasn't just Roger Stone. It was a whole coordination with the dropping of WikiLeaks, with the dropping of the fucking stolen information, coordinated with the Trump campaign. Right? Written up in the Mueller report. you had Ed Butowski and Robert Wheeler, Rob Wheeler, running around promoting the story, and then they sue each other to pretend like they each swindled each other, and then the whole story goes away, and the Seth Rich family sues a bunch of people, and like that just ruins their life and takes up their whole. Not only did their kid die, but now they got to deal with all this conspiracy bullshit the rest of their lives. So you have an endless amount of evidence where even no matter who tells you what's going, like, it's nutso. So what's something that a lot of people don't remember? You heard some names earlier, but you might not remember what happened to all those people.
Special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation resulted in 34 people being charged with crimes, including 26 Russian nationals and 6 former Trump advisors or associates. It uncovered financial crimes, delved into murky lobbying efforts for the Ukrainian government, and revealed a complex web of internet propaganda. Among the people connected to President Trump who were charged are lobbyists and political...
Now, listen, there's like subtle things you need to hear.
Resulted in 34 people being charged with crimes, including 26 Russian nationals and 6 former Trump advisors or associates. It uncovered financial crimes, delved into murky lobbying efforts for the Ukrainian government, and revealed a complex web of internet propaganda.
A complex web of internet propaganda. You know what that isn't? That isn't a few Russian memes. This is the infrastructure. Like, this is the ongoing infrastructure that became crafted between the Do So movement in Trinidad and Tobago with Cambridge Analytica in 2013. Simultaneously, you had Gamergate with Breitbart and Bannon. All the while, you had Occupy, and this is when they honed it all.
Among the people connected to President Trump who were charged are lobbyist and political consultant Paul Manafort, who worked as Trump's campaign manager in 2016. He faced multiple indictments stemming from his work as a political consultant in Ukraine in 2012 and his financial...
Ukraine. Not the Zelensky Ukraine. The Russian corrupt Ukraine.
dealings. The indictments included charges of conspiracy against the United States, conspiracy to launder money, working as an unregistered foreign agent, making false statements.
These are Trump's people. Manafort was his campaign manager before Bannon.
Tax evasion and bank fraud. Manafort was convicted of 8 tax and bank fraud charges in August 2018, and then pleaded guilty to conspiring to defraud the United States and to obstruct justice in a separate case in September 2018.
Pardoned by Trump.
The guilty plea was part of a deal that the judge later ruled that he breached. He was sentenced to 7.5 years in prison in March 2019. Several of Manafort's business associates from his work in Ukraine were also caught up in the investigation. Rick Gates, who had worked with Manafort since 2006,
also part of the campaign,
and was his deputy on Trump's campaign, was also charged. And
now, here's something you may not know. You want a scary connection? Here's something you might not know. Recognize any of these people? You might recognize 2 of them. Anybody? Anybody recognize any of these people? This is in the 70s. Manafort and Roger Stone. Rat fucking in the 70s. Like good little foreign agents. Good little anti-American pieces of shit. Roger Stone and Paul Manafort. Been working together for 50 years. Over 50 years. He still looks like a demon, just in the Monopoly guy form. These people have been trying to destroy America for over 50 years. No, that's Black something. It's like Black Manafort and Stone. I don't know who that fucker is. Looks like Stone took him out shortly after this picture. It looks like Roger Stone might have eaten him.
As you know, one of the
So
pleaded guilty to conspiracy and lying to the FBI in a cooperation deal. Alex van der Zwaan, a London-based lawyer who worked with Manafort and Gates when they worked as political consultants in Ukraine, and is also married to the daughter of a Russian billionaire, pleaded guilty in February 2018.
married to the daughter of a Russian billionaire, tied up with the Trump campaign. Manafort working with Russians in Ukraine. Gates working with Russians in Ukraine.
To lying to the FBI about their work in Ukraine. He was sentenced to 30 days in prison.
30
and
days.
Manafort's longtime Ukrainian business associate, Konstantin Kalimnik, was charged with working with Manafort to obstruct justice. Investigators say the two tried to influence potential witnesses in a case involving their failure to register as foreign lobbyists. The FBI also says that Kalimnik has ties to Russian intelligence. In a 2017 statement to the Washington Post, he denied any connection to Russian intelligence. Trump's short-lived national security advisor Michael Flynn pleaded guilty in December 2017 to lying to the FBI about his contacts with Russian ambassador Sergei Kislyak. Mueller recommended that he serve little to no jail time for his substantial assistance to the investigation. George Papadopoulos, who was a foreign policy advisor to the Trump campaign, pleaded guilty in October 2018 to lying to the FBI about his interactions with Russians who said they had damaging information on Hillary.
These aren't just people around Trump. This was his entire campaign staff. There was no coordination, no conspiracy, but everybody around him got arrested.
Hillary Clinton. He was sentenced to 14 days in prison in September
14 days. 14 days.
2018. President Trump's former personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, pleaded guilty to lying to Congress in November 2018, after Mueller's team searched his office, home, and hotel room in April. He also pleaded guilty in a separate case in the Southern District of New York to 8 charges that included campaign finance violations, tax violations, and lying to a bank. He was sentenced in December 2018.
You know what? I almost forgot that. There's already been a guilty plea on the violation. So that guilty plea is on the record of additional proof that Trump committed campaign finance violations.
To 3 years in prison. And longtime Republican operative Roger Stone, who has informally advised Trump over the years and was briefly an advisor to his campaign in 2015, was indicted and arrested in January 2019 on charges including lying, obstruction, and witness tampering. Mueller's team of prosecutors charged 13 Russian individuals and 3 entities in February 2018.
You know what's funny? The guy that ran the bot farm, troll farms, one of them or all of them, was Prigozhin, the guy that tried to do the coup that got unalived, supposedly. You never know. I'm sure it was an accident if it happened. Carol Baskin, I would blame Carol Baskin if it was me, because that bitch probably did it.
For a long-running online scheme to criminally interfere with the 2016 election.
Do you think they just stopped doing it? Do you think they just quit? They had all this online coordination. Flynn knew what he was doing and how he was using it. Fucking Bannon and the Mercers and Cambridge Analytica and all that shit, they knew what they were doing. Do you think it just stopped in 2016? Probably. They were probably like, you know what? Trump won. We're going to hang it up.
Through a troll farm that carried out a divisive propaganda campaign on U.S. citizens. And Richard Pinedo, a California businessman, pleaded guilty in the same month to identity fraud for creating hundreds of bank accounts with stolen identities and selling them to unidentified offshore users that may have been connected to the troll farm. He was sentenced in October 2018 to 6 months in prison and 6 months of home confinement.
That's it.
They also charged a group of 12 Russian military intelligence officers in July 2018.
You want to know why Trump stole nuclear secrets? because nobody ever gets punished.
For hacking Democrats' computers and stealing and publishing their data. Mueller also sent a number of referrals to other prosecutors, including ones that resulted in charges against Gregory Craig for making false statements. He served in the Obama administration as White House counsel and then worked at the same law firm as Manafort. His referral also spurred on the Southern District of New York's charges of financial crimes against Cohen. So while Mueller's investigation is shuttered, threads of it are continuing, whether in ongoing sentences.
So all that being said,
Primary purposes of the special counsel's investigation was to determine whether President Trump's campaign or any individual associated with it conspired or coordinated with the Russian government.
if anybody conspired or coordinated, anybody,
To interfere in the 2016 election. Volume 1 of the special counsel's report describes the results of that investigation. As you will see, the special counsel's report states that his, quote, investigation did not establish that members of the Trump campaign conspired or coordinated with the Russian government in its election interference activities. I am sure that all Americans share my concern about the efforts of the Russian government to interfere in our presidential
Russia
election. As the special counsel report makes clear, the Russian government sought to interfere in our election process. But thanks to the special counsel's thorough investigation, we now know that the Russian operatives who perpetrated these schemes did not have the cooperation of President Trump or the Trump campaign.
So, Joyce Vance, then there's Paul Manafort, who now we know was just completely dealing. And tell us about that angle. I mean, this was way back before Trump even became president. This Manafort, who's one of several who went to jail, paying the price, but we're learning so much more about exactly how deep into this he was.
It's just another.
Manafort hired and worked increasingly closely with a Russian national, Konstantin Kilimnik. Kilimnik is a Russian intelligence officer. On numerous occasions, Manafort sought to secretly share internal campaign information with Kilimnik. Kilimnik almost certainly helped arrange some of the first public messaging that Ukraine had interfered with the U.S. election.
Another piece in this puzzle of lies that we've been talking about this morning, Mika. We've always known a lot of the information around Paul Manafort, that he had debts worth millions of dollars to Russian oligarchs, that he was working with a man named Konstantin Kilimnik, who was widely believed to be affiliated with the GRU. The Senate subcommittee actually goes a little bit further and actually identifies him as someone who was working with Russian intelligence. And so what we see here is just this patina of lie upon lie upon lie being told by desperate people close to the president. And folks don't go in front of a Senate Select Committee on Intelligence and commit lies under oath unless they have something to hide up. That's, I think, the big picture, the forest that we need to take away as we read this new report in conjunction with the Mueller report. There were so many lies that were told on so many different subjects, and people don't subject themselves to the risk of perjury unless the truth is so bad that if the truth comes out, it will destroy everything. That's why Paul Manafort matters here. He's that first piece of connection to Russia. It's out of his relationships that this Ukraine story, the fake Ukraine story, is put into circulation by some of the folks that he was involved with on the Russian side. And that's
Manafort also, he admitted after he was pardoned that he sold data to Kilimnik. So Bill Barr should be arrested. Bill Barr lied and said there was no coordination or conspiracy or collusion when that's not true. I just don't understand. Don Trump Jr. meeting with somebody is direct coordination and collusion. Just because the results didn't come out, it was still the same people
creating.
And so that amount of manipulation, you've got the left afraid to talk about Russia, doesn't really know what's in the Mueller report. You have libs afraid to talk about Russia, definitely don't know what was in the Mueller report, and think, you know, the Democrats did go after Trump, even though that's not true. That's not what happened. Then you have the right, who believes this was a Democrat conspiracy with Hillary Clinton and Obama to overthrow the Republicans and to blame them and to not accept the results of the election. And that began the complete and total corruption of the Republican Party, because the entire Republican Party signed on to downplay our enemies' direct interference with our election because it benefited them. They now had all this compromise. They all knew what happened, and they all lied. And Russia knew they lied. They knew they lied. So now what do? You're going to be like, yeah, I lied, my bad. Nope. You're going to start getting on board with every fucking crime he commits. How about when he does an Oval Office and draws on a weather map with a Sharpie? You're going to pretend you didn't see it, or you're going to say he didn't do it, or it didn't happen, or it's fake news? When an extra couple 100,000 people die of COVID. Literally, the people that vote for you were the ones dying. Look, I'm not going to play the whole video. I'm barely even going to play any part of it. But there's a video.
It's an extremely overwhelming experience to walk into a room with your very young, healthy husband and see him hooked up to dozens of machines and IVs. He literally was alive because of modern medicine keeping him alive, and these machines breathing for him and helping his body.
Pandemic has taken a devastating toll on police departments across the country. COVID is now killing more law enforcement officers than guns, vehicles, or any other threat they face in the line of duty.
Anti-vaxxers are now contracting coronavirus and unfortunately dying as a result. And we're hearing more and more from family members who are remorseful for listening to the anti-vaccine disinformation that you're likely to hear in various right-wing.
On a bad day, he was just a kind soul, someone you always needed. Officers.
Republicans will say they care about fucking babies, embryos. But when there's a school shooting, they're there for the guns. When cops are dying from COVID and are still being anti-vax, anti-mask, calling it fake. National Guardsmen doing the same. Military people being willing to leave the fucking military to not take an order, a lawful order. Healthcare workers being convinced that the vaccine is dangerous. How does that happen? You think it's an accident? You don't think there's a whole machine? The same machine that makes you believe Russia didn't happen? The same machine that makes you believe Biden being old is the equivalent of Donald Trump? And, you know, it's logical that Republicans are regular politicians, even though they're telling you they won't certify the election. This doesn't all just come from America, though. The meme warfare that taught Joe Rogan how to be the doctor to Aaron Rodgers and Tim Pool. That mechanism makes this happen.
Where did you get this thing at? My video from last year, you saw me getting thrown out. To my surprise this year, when I applied for a press pass, they approved me. So we're gonna see how this goes. I expect to get thrown out back in one.
Ah, it's addictive.
It is addictive.
You know what it is? I'll tell you what it is. It's time traveling. It's the way America
does feel like
used to be and should continue to be.
that. It is
You know?
CPAC is like it is like time travel.
Yeah.
Lady MAGA. So you know this is good. Let me make sure my mic is on here. A lot of people are saying we don't like LGBTQ, but you're here.
Find me a quote from a conservative saying we hate LGBTQ. I haven't heard that myself.
No, I've heard nothing. Thank you.
This is my 4th year at CPAC, so people sort of say it's not CPAC without Lady MAGA. So I just every 30 seconds I have people who follow me, who know me, who come up to me and share the love.
Yeah.
And they appreciate what I do because drag is not intrinsically sexual or explicit or vulgar. It can be a lot of fun.
Oh my God!
So,
Say that again.
yeah, drag itself is not explicit. It's not explicitly vulgar or sexual. For me, it's just theatrical. I get to embody a totally different persona, work on the
is fucking
costume,
crazy.
bedazzle things. You know, my face is a palette that I get to paint this on. So it's art for me. And I want to reclaim that in the world because drag queen story hour, drag queens twerking in front of children, it's deplorable. It's absolutely
Well, that's
unacceptable.
the thing. I mean, well, the difference is, you know, we shouldn't have LGBTQ people, you know, near, you know, you can't be open and within your identity in front of children. I mean, you're here, that's fine, but there's no kids around. You know,
Well,
if you
I've
did
been
this,
to-
if
I've
you
been-
did this, if you wanted to read a story to children, you know, I would have a, you know, there'd be more of a problem with
Well,
that.
the thing
if you
is-
wanted to, you know, teach at a school or something, and
No,
you
if
know,
I were in the public school system, the children would never learn about my sexuality or my personal
yeah,
life.
you keep that like
And
you keep that like separate.
I do, of course.
Yeah, you wouldn't dress like this at a school.
No.
Oh my God, no. That's our
The
only thing.
I've been to a lot of rallies where there's people of all ages there. I always am dressed like this, very tastefully. And so if people ever have questions, I just say, I'm wearing a costume. I could be Spider-Man or a unicorn.
Unbelievable.
We're not anti-LGBTQ. The media makes up this whole narrative. We just don't want you, you know, being in this identity, like in public where there
children's
could
library.
be kids around.
Well, I've been in public a lot of times at rallies and things.
fine
in
when I
Utah,
do it.
With like, and there's kids there and stuff.
With people of all ages.
Unbelievable.
I don't approach them. I don't try to indoctrinate their children. And if people do want to take a picture with me,
I don't know who that
I
is.
always say, okay, mom and dad in the middle.
Okay.
I always keep a very professional distance. But,
I think it's Milo.
I would never go into a library or a public school.
Thank schools. Important to you as a voter.
I think the border has to be number one.
Yeah, it is the number one. So
Absolutely.
So, convincing people that Russia is our friend, NATO is our enemy, climate accord is bad and bogus, the Paris Accords, bad idea, Russia should attack, Ukraine should give up. These are Nazis. They don't believe in elections. They believe in a powerful military, but also only care about America. They want to go backwards to white America. They want to take away freedoms. They're the victim, but they're all powerful. And they want an ethno-state.
We're actually looking for people that have a personal story about
Milo's pretty. Well, Gamergate, he was really pretty.
migrant crisis. Like, how has it personally affected you? Has anything happened in your life?
No, I couldn't say. I could say that I used to be in a trade that is completely taken over by Hispanics now. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing.
Which one?
Flooring.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So like those subcontractor work.
Exactly.
Has been, all right.
If you want to be a foreman in a big flooring shop, you need to speak Spanish.
Oh, the hell.
In this area.
in this area.
Yeah, and it's driven the wages down. So that's probably as close as I have to a personal experience.
Immigration is destroying this country.
Yeah. We're looking for people that have personal stories on immigration. Like, how has the migrant crisis personally affected you?
Well, in my community, the people that work at these restaurants and establishments, they do not speak the language and they do not.
This is what's destroying our country. Just to be clear, they're the victim of foreigners. That's it. They're the victim that foreign people work here. Immigration is destroying our country because they exist here. They have jobs. They live in our neighborhood. And that's against my civil rights to not have minorities around me.
Not assimilate. They are here for a job. They are not here to be Americans.
How have
and community, the people that work at these restaurants,
they're not one of us.
And establishments, they do not speak the language and they do not assimilate. They are here for a job. They are not here to be Americans.
How have you been personally affected by the migrant crisis?
A couple times a week we have trucks coming through our neighborhood and they ring the doorbell, soliciting. Our neighborhood is not supposed to have solicitors, but they ring the doorbell.
This is destroying the country, guys. Guys, this is how bad Republicans actually have it. Forget about poverty, policing, education, wages. Forget about all that. The real problem is the border because
speak the language and they do not assimilate. They are here for a job. They are not here to be Americans.
How have you been personally affected by the migrant crisis?
A couple times a week we have trucks coming through our neighborhood and they ring the doorbell, soliciting. Our neighborhood is not supposed to have solicitors, but they ring the doorbell and then, you see the big pickup truck with like 8 men in it.
What are they soliciting for?
I don't know. Sometimes they have a lawnmower.
they want to work.
Sometimes they don't. So they want to work. Yeah.
They're ruining the country. They want to work. Guys, I don't know if you thought about it that way. She just wants to sit and drink mimosas and have a regular neighbor kid mow the grass that speaks English. She doesn't want her whole life destroyed by the dirty migrants that don't really speak English asking to cut her grass.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
how does this make you feel?
Well, like I'm being invaded, which we are. When
they come up to your house
it's my
and
personal space.
and
You
they
are,
have, do they have a lawnmower or they have like a lawnmower?
right. No, like whatever. It doesn't have to be
They
the
have
big
gardening
one, but, like,
equipment
right. Sometimes.
and stuff.
Sometimes.
And then
Sometimes
they're asking,
roofers or whatever.
and they want to work.
Yeah.
And they're
well,
like, no, but are they like kind of pushy about it?
I wouldn't say pushy because I'm not really the type of person that would tolerate that.
Well, we know why you wouldn't tolerate that.
Yeah, exactly. What I tell them is, you're lucky that you came to my door rather than my neighbor's door, because, when you say, he's ex-Secret Service or he's a veteran and, he doesn't take the doorbell ringing lightly. Because what I'm really saying to them is,
go back to your
you
country.
have disturbed my entire day, right? And soliciting is illegal per our HOA and per, keep in mind, on my
this is how they're destroying the country. Like, realize this. Soliciting the white lady. Destroying invasion.
window
Invasion.
next to my front door, I have a no soliciting sign.
Okay. Yeah.
But again, they don't speak our language. So, and I'm not going to put it in Spanish. It's America.
Yeah. What's one of the biggest issues you have as a voter going into the election?
Illegal immigration.
Okay.
Illegal immigration, getting American jobs, and guess what? Americans will do anything for money. Take your usual Puerto Ricano, they'll do anything, darling. Just pay them in cash, $6 an hour.
Do you have a personal story about?
Yes, I do. My daughter, she was raped by an illegal immigrant.
I'm sure that happened. I'm sure. I'm sure that happened. I'm sure of it.
She didn't even want to go to the police. I made her go.
She didn't want to go to the police because she wasn't raped.
They did a sketch. Oh, spoke only Spanish and rough workman's hands. Yeah, right.
What? What?
How do we know that he was like undocumented?
Okay, because when I took her to the police, when she didn't want to go, the
Okay,
policewoman
yeah.
said definitely.
Yeah, this definitely happened. This is definitely a story that happened. There's no doubt about it. There is no, guys, there's no chance this didn't happen. This and the kitty litter in the classroom, 100% real. Blaze Media. Speaker Johnson issues grim warning after 170 Democrats oppose Laken-Riley Act. There will be more victims. This is migrant crime. Migrant crime. Before President Joe Biden delivered the State of the Union address Thursday night, the House passed the Laken-Riley Act. The final vote was 251 to 170. Every Republican voted for it, and only 37 of those baby-killing demons voted for it. The bill requires federal authorities to detain illegal immigrants arrested for or charged with any burglary, theft, larceny, or shoplifting offense. God damn. If the federal government doesn't comply with the detention requirements, the bill empowers states so states can sue the federal government. You know what? Colorado shouldn't take Trump off the ballot, but you should be able, as a citizen of Colorado, as a resident, to be able to sue anybody that votes for an insurrectionist, just like you can in Texas for an abortion or for being gay. So, Mike Johnson, remember that name. That's an important name. That's going to be an important name just a minute. Mr. Michael Johnson, the we got a problem at the border leader of the Republican House, right? So one migrant did a murder and we need to close down the border because that's proof. But no amount of white kids shooting up a school will ever get them to act against guns. No matter how many people die of COVID, they will never let it be real. They will denounce the vaccine that Trump himself was responsible for getting done. This is the world we live in. Rationality does not exist. They run off of a core ideology. And as we listened earlier, you have to be able to not try to talk to them from your ideology. You have to try to get into their world. And asking questions is the only way. You making statements and trying to tell them what's what, it's kind of like Schrodinger's politics. Anything you look at, there's something else. Uh-oh. Did the stream shut down? Ruh-roh. Oh, no. Okay, we're back. I don't know what happened. Looked like we had a choppy moment there. Is everybody back? Are we back? Back again. Is chat back? Is chat back? Is chat back? Is chat back? The people want to know. They need to know. It looks like I'm still live. I can't really tell though. Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay. Still here. Okay. So, Mike Johnson, they passed a bill to hold immigrants to. Okay, thank you. We passed a bill to hold immigrants to a higher standard. Higher standard than the president of the United States. Thank you. So, in addition, oh, come on. In addition, Russia is boosting calls for civil war over Texas border. An all-encompassing Russian disinformation campaign is using everything from bots to lifestyle influencers to powerful state-run media to sow division in the United States. Now, when was this article? A month ago. This is a month old. Exactly what we saw going on in 2016, still happening. It's still going on. And you can't even bring up Russia. Greg Abbott, right? So you got Dan Patrick, Attorney General. Not Dan Patrick. What's the dude's name? Ken Paxton. Attorney General, also fucking criminal. Him and a bunch of other Republican attorney generals promoted a 1 p.m. march with a robocall. A march that supposedly was spontaneous, that wasn't planned, even though it was planned. If you go back to wildprotest.com, which was Ali Alexander, got registered shortly after December 18th. The December 18th meeting, which, by the way, the dude hold on, I'll wait for that. The guy that was arrested, the Smirnov guy, right? He has ties to the person that was funding Maria Butina, the Russian spy. Patrick Byrne, the Overstock guy, who was in the Oval Office December 18th, trying to enact martial law and seize voting machines, he dated Maria Butina for 3 years. Flynn was in that room too. Giuliani was in that room too. And Giuliani worked with Lev and Igor and Russians in Ukraine to try to dig up a story and falsify bullshit against Joe Biden when they blackmailed Ukraine and ran a shadow foreign government. That was all Russians, right? That's all Russians. All of it. Smirnov, Russian. He was part of their plan to do the same thing to impeach Biden that Trump tried to do when he got impeached. It's the same investigation. It's the same accusations. It's the same Russian disinformation. You can't talk about it, though, because then you're the nut job, right? You're the fucking maniac. But here you go. They're still doing it. Just now, the Russians and the Republicans are one and the same. They're no different. Everywhere you look. Let's see if I can get this in the window for you. Hold on, I'm still learning the software here. All right, fuck it. It's not going to change. Who is Konstantin Nikolaev? Putin ally behind Mike Johnson campaign donation. What? Who would have thunk? Who would have thunk anything like it? House Speaker Mike Johnson's 2018 campaign received donations from Russian nationals via American ethane. American ethane was 88% owned by Russian nationals, Konstantin Nikolaev, Mikhail Yurev, and Andrei Kuntbiv. Kuntbiv. Johnson's campaign returned the money once they were made aware of the situation. No indication that Johnson's campaign knowingly broke federal law. Johnson recently rejected a $95 billion foreign aid bill, including $60 billion for Ukraine. Social media users have linked the campaign money to Johnson's opposition to the aid bill. Nikolaev, a billionaire, is a top ally of Russian President Vladimir Putin. So I don't know that much about that story.
The breaking news, new court.
That's kind of a weak one, to be honest with you. Oh, what did I just do? Okay, now let me fix all this. Okay. There we are. So, this is 2 weeks ago. Just 2 weeks ago.
Documents just released revealing that an indicted informant admitted to the FBI that he got dirt about Hunter Biden from Russian intelligence officials. Joining us now, the former National Security Council official, retired Lieutenant Colonel Alexander.
Yo! How are you doing? I already did the Seth Rich stuff. I've done that. We actually hit on it earlier in stream. How are you doing, man? How come the website's down?
Alexander Vindman. Colonel Vindman, thanks so much for joining us. What's your reaction to this filing that this FBI informant?
Now, if you remember, Vindman was one of the main witnesses in the first impeachment. He was on the call.
A guy by the name of Alexander Smirnov was fed fake dirt on the Bidens by Russian intelligence. And how does this fit into the pattern of how Russia actually operates?
You know, we use the term bombshell pretty often, but I think this is some bombshell reporting. The reason is that it clarifies certain facets of Russia's influence operation to interfere in elections almost a decade back, 2016, 2020, and 2024. It certainly shows their tradecraft in using witting agents. Smirnov is under arrest because he's assessed to be a witting agent, more than likely. And
is he the attorney?
The fact that I think from an intelligence perspective, from the Russian perspective, they see a large number of Republican political leaders as unwitting agents, carrying forward Russian disinformation. So that's a pretty interesting picture that it paints of how the Russians are interfering, co-opting the Republican Party to do their bidding to tip the scales in Trump's favor. The other thing that's really interesting is it may clarify some of Trump's intentions, why he is catered so hard towards Russia, why he invited just, within the past 2 weeks, he invited Russia to attack a NATO member, a grave danger for U.S. troops, a grave danger for U.S. troops. Why? Because he's looking for that quid pro quo that he's been searching for from 2016 forward, whether it's emails, whether it's solicitations to Russia to share intelligence, to deliver some sort of information on corruption. That is why he's probably working so, he's leaning so far into engaging with Russia because he's looking for any and every means to win the 2020 elections and tip the scales in his favor. I witnessed it when I was in the White House and reported presidential corruption. It carries through to 2024. Very, very dangerous.
I remember, Colonel, when you testified in the then President Trump's first impeachment hearing, where he was accused of pressuring Ukraine to investigate the Biden's business ties over there in Ukraine. How does that inform you now that you view this latest development?
Well, so those were Russian agents back then. Also, these were Russian agents feeding dirt on this this so-called corruption scheme with Burisma, which frankly nobody's found any credible reporting indicating that President Biden was in any way involved. Certainly, there's no dispute that Hunter Biden was on the board receiving money, but there's no implication of President Biden being involved in this. But these were Russian agents back then. These have been Russian agents, Russian officers running Russian agents all the way through to this day. And it is a really deeply disturbing that swaths of the Republican political elite have been co-opted to carry forward Russian influence operations to interfere in U.S. elections. I think the Republicans, unfortunately, are not likely to change their tune. They'll say that it's interference, that the FBI now is, looking to spoil that impeachment inquiry. I don't think they're going to adjust their narrative, but it's deeply dangerous, and the American public needs to know what is going on and how Russia is interfering with the help of the Republican Party and Donald Trump.
This U.S. filing against Smirnov also says Smirnov's contacts were extensive, recent, and not trivial. And I'm quoting now, the false information he provided was not trivial. It targeted the presumptive nominee of one of the two major political parties in the United States. The effects of
probably a coincidence.
Smirnov's false statements and fabricated information continue to be felt to this day. Colonel, do you think the U.S. is taking this threat of Russian interference in the 2024 presidential election seriously enough?
No, they're not even taking Republican interference seriously enough.
I think the Biden administration is, to a certain extent. The Trump administration also, at the professional level, looked to harden our elections to make sure that they weren't subject to cyber attacks. But
harden our what? What did he say? We need to harden our what?
Administration is, to a certain extent, the Trump administration also, at the professional level, looked to harden our elections to make sure that they weren't subject to cyber attacks. But
wasn't sure if I heard that right.
Are a different animal entirely. Really, it's about inserting messages.
Shut the dog
finding, receptive audiences and sowing chaos, disinformation, casting both candidates as corrupt. So it's definitely clarifies the point on what the Russians are doing. What's a little bit disturbing, frankly, is that sources go through annual vetting and they get repeatedly assessed for how effective they are, how credible they are. And for somebody like this individual to be assessed as credible, continue to provide reporting, I think there's something that fell through the cracks in terms of screening, and this should have never happened. And certainly Congress should have been warned about the fact that they were communicating with a witting agent of the Russian intelligence services.
Oh, hold on real quick. I'm looking for something. Oh, there it goes.
Representative Armagoff, thank you for your time today. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
So you're one of the leaders of this impeachment effort against Secretary of State Jena Griswold for high.
Okay, we watched this earlier, but now that you've been through all of that, right? This is where we've come. Like, that standard Republican voter hears this and thinks we fucking got him.
To be removed from the ballot, as you suggest, or once she was sued by people who wanted him removed, she was asked, what do you think? And she said, well, I think that's what the law prescribes.
She did, in fact, ask for him to be removed from the ballot, and we have the quotes from her press releases in the actual articles of impeachment.
How do you see this going forward? Let me ask it this way. If you all in the legislature do not like the way that she's conducting herself and you want to set ground rules for the office, could you not pass legislation that prescribe ground rules for the office of Secretary of State?
Essentially, yes. I believe so.
Why not do that as opposed to impeaching her?
I think more or less this is a matter of sending a message. We know as the super minority here, there's no way we're going to get articles of impeachment through the House. The fact of the matter is...
This is fucking hilarious. This is like what somebody would say 2 a.m. drunk.
We have to show our voters that this is not something we're going to allow to be a precedent. We're going to stop this in its tracks, and then we can move forward by editing or
otherwise making rules that can be followed at a better level in the future.
Gotcha. I take it you didn't vote for Secretary Griswold when she ran for re-election.
I did not, in fact.
Who did you support?
I supported Anderson.
You supported Pam Anderson?
Yes.
Gotcha. And one of the things that she said is that she would be a Secretary of State more in the mold of our last Republican Secretary of State, Wayne Williams, who tried to keep partisan politics at bay, but yet he also did partisan things while he was in office. He was a Republican who supported Republican causes and so forth. Do you think that anything that Wayne Williams did crossed the line?
I'm not a follower of anything that he did. I just know from the here and now, as an elected official by my constituents, they've been reaching out to me hundreds of emails a day that I get from my constituents saying we need to do something. And standing idly by is not what they elected me to do. So I, for one, am standing up for my constituents.
Let me pose the devil's advocate question. That person might say there's absolutely no grounds for impeachment, that y'all just need something to show for the fact that you guys are up here taking it day after day because you have a super minority, you can't really do anything. And this is just something that you can throw to your base and say, look, we tried to impeach Secretary Griswold and it failed.
I don't think that's true. I think in the opposite of that, if we were in the supermajority and there happened to be an opposing party, a Secretary of State that did this, and we had the ability to get impeachment articles through the House, we would have done it that way the same.
Right. We like Russians, would just remove who we don't like.
This is something that we can say we're doing this, even though it might not be successful in the House. Our constituents can see we did it, but we can't do anything based on being the super minority. And that can also hopefully help us the next election cycle.
Wait, so we're doing this. Hopefully, this is my favorite part. This is my favorite part. We're doing this hopefully to help us win the election. So we're doing this impeachment hopefully to help us win the election.
Our constituents can see we did it, but we can't do anything based on being the super minority. And that can also hopefully help us the next election cycle.
Well, you didn't just say you're impeaching her because it'll help you in the next election cycle.
No, I think this will get more people to come to vote so that we can get more people voting for what they think is right, knowing that they have people standing up in office for them. They need to get more people in office standing up for them.
I'm still just stunned. I'm flabbergasted. Stupefied. We're doing this and hopefully it'll help us get elected. You're impeaching them to get elected? No. We're doing it to show them we're trying to help them, but we can't. So hopefully they'll vote and get more of us into office. Totally different.
Did you just say the quiet part out loud?
Successful. This is something. There happened to be an opposing party, a Secretary of State that did this, and we had the ability to get impeachment articles through the House. We would have done it that way the same. This is something that we can say we're doing this, even though it might not be successful in the House. Our constituents can see we did it, but we can't do anything based on being the super minority. And that can also hopefully help us the next election cycle.
Well, you didn't just say you're impeaching her because it'll help you in the next election cycle.
No, I think this will get more people to come to vote so that we can get more people voting for what they think is right, knowing that they have people standing up in office for them. They need to get more people in office standing up for them.
Did you just say the quiet part out loud?
What's that?
Did you just say the quiet part out loud?
The quiet part out loud.
We'll move on. I want to ask you another devil's advocate question. As somebody who has observed Secretary Griswold in office, it's clear that she is a master of attracting attention and fundraising dollars, right? What are the chances that your efforts only make her stronger in the end, whether she wants to run for governor or whatever else, because now she can claim that she's the victim of your failed impeachment attempt?
I don't think it'll make her more popular. I think this can easily be something that can be...
I missed my favorite part. I got busy, sorry.
For them.
Did you just say the quiet part out loud?
What's that?
Did you just say the quiet part out loud?
The quiet part out loud.
That's the best part. Did you just say the quiet part out loud? The quiet part out loud. Like he was just given direction or he broke or something.
so that we can get more people voting for what they think is right. Knowing
so
that
good.
they have people standing up in office for them, they need to get more people in office standing up for them.
Did you just say the quiet part out loud?
What's that?
Did you just say the quiet part out loud?
The quiet part out loud.
We'll move on.
Oh God, it's so good. Okay, we'll stop there. So fucking good. All right, tomorrow. What are we doing tomorrow? We're gonna look at the rebuttal, the hilarious rebuttal from the State of the Union, and probably that Sneeko video. And then we got Murder Mondays. Don't forget about Murder Monday, right? We got Murder Mondays. We're on the JonBenet Ramsey case. Last week we did the poems. We might do that again because that was fucking fun. But tomorrow we'll probably do this for a bit.
And then I think the reality set in that the video wasn't actually like fully like jokes. I think he realized that the video was cutting deep. Yeah, he got fucking spooked pretty bad. I could understand why someone would get spooked. This is some pretty sinister shit, thankfully. You know, I'm not interested really in fucking with him beyond what I can do in a call, I guess, but
watch anyway. That kid named Sneeko, I don't know what that kid thought. First of all, he's
So if you don't know, he tricked Sneeko into basically an ARG designed directly for him to get him to show on his stream this 2-hour video, which was like a super hit piece to Sneeko. So we'll probably jump into that. And yeah, I'm glad that we could hop over to YouTube and do this. And hopefully we can do more of this. Hit sub, hit like, all that fun stuff. And I'll see you real soon. See ya.